Hi everyone. Today I'm going to deal with the topic scalp. In the previous sessions, we have finished discussing about jaundice. Today we will be discussing about the definition of scalp, its boundaries, and also different layers of scalp. What is scalp? It is the soft tissue covering the cranial vault. As you can see in the picture, this is the scalp. It is the soft tissue covering the cranial vault. Next is the boundaries of scalp. Anteriorly, it is supraorbital margins. Supraorbital margins are curved and prominent margins beneath each superciliary march. These are the supraorbital margins. It is formed by the frontal bone and you can see a notch present here. This is the supraorbital notch. So the anterior border is supraorbital margin. Next, posteriorly, it is the external occipital protuberance and superior nuchal lines. This is the external occipital protuberance and this is the superior nuchal line. External occipital protuberance is a median prominence. This is the median prominence. This is the median prominence in the lower part of occipital bone. In the occipital bone, in the lower part, it is the median prominence. It can be defined as the junction of head and neck. Next is the superior nuchal lines. Those are distinct curved ridges. You can see these curved ridges. They extend from the external occipital protuberance to the mastoid process. So that forms the posterior border of scalp. External occipital protuberance and the superior nuchal lines. Next is on each sides. On each sides, the border is the superior temporal lines. This is the superior temporal line. Okay. These are seen over the parietal bone. As you can see, these are the parietal bone. These are the parietal bone. So the superior temporal lines are seen in the parietal bone. This forms the upper border of temporal fossa. This portion is the temporal fossa. So the superior temporal line is forming the upper border of temporal fossa. In short, the boundaries of scalp are anteriorly it is the supraorbital margins, posteriorly it is external occipital protuberance and superior nuchal lines. On each side it is superior temporal lines. Next we'll move on to the layers of scalp. As the spelling, it is SCALP. Each letter describes each layer of the scalp. S is skin, C is connective tissue, that is dense connective tissue, A Uponerotic layer, L loose connective tissue, P is pericranium. This is a picture of the 5 layers of scalp. These are the 5 layers. The first 3 layers of scalp, that is the skin, connective tissue and aponeurotic layer, these form a single unit. It is called as scalp proper. They are held tightly together. Next, we will move on to the first layer. It is the skin. This is the picture of the 5 layers. Here you can see the skin. As we all know, the skin, the first layer is thick and it is hairy. The skin in the scalp is similar to the other parts of body except that there is presence of more hair, and the skin is the outer layer of scalp, the first layer of scalp. The skin is adherent to the aponeurotic layer, that is, aponeurotic layer is the third layer, through the dense superficial fascia. That is, the first layer and the third layer is connected through the second layer. Okay. The skin, the first layer, is adherent to aponeurotic layer, that is the third layer, through the second layer, that is dense connective tissue. Next is the second layer, that is the dense connective tissue. The other names of dense connective tissue are superficial fascia and subcutaneous tissue. You can see the pictures here. It anchors, as we told earlier, it helps in anchoring the skin to the aponeurotic layer. That is, it helps in attaching the first layer to the third layer. It contains blood vessels and nerves to the scalp. It contains arteries, veins and nerves to the scalp. In the picture, you can see it. These are the vessels and nerves. Here also, these are the vessels and nerves. It is more dense, it is more thicker. This layer is more thicker in the center than at the periphery. Next is the third layer, that is the aponeurotic layer. Aponeurotic layer is the deepest of the first three layers. This is the aponeurotic layer. We told earlier that it is attached to the skin by the superficial fascia. The other name of aponeurotic layer is Galea aponeurotica. It is easily movable, or it is freely movable on the pericranium. Pericranium is the fifth layer of scalp. That is, the third layer, aponeurotic layer, is easily movable on the pericranium. Next is the occipitofrontalis muscle. The aponeurotic layer has got a muscle insertion, that is the occipitofrontalis muscle. The occipitofrontalis muscle has got two bellies, that is, it has got two parts, an occipital part and a frontalis part. Anteriorly, when we talk about aponeurotic layer, anteriorly there is frontalis muscle and posteriorly there is occipitalis muscle. This occipitalis muscle arises from the superior nuchal lines. You can see the superior nuchal lines, okay? This muscle arises from the superior nuchal lines. Then the frontalis muscle arises from the skin of the forehead. This is the skin of the forehead. It arises from the skin of the forehead, and also it mingles with orbicularis oculi muscle. This is the orbicularis oculi muscle. Together it will help in raising your eyebrows and also causing horizontal wrinkles. So this frontalis belly of occipitofrontalis is working together with orbicularis oculi for raising your eyebrows and also wrinkling your forehead. Next is the attachments or the boundaries of aponeurotic layer. Posteriorly, aponeurotic layer is attached to the external occipital protuberance. Anteriorly, we told earlier, it is attached to the skin of the forehead, or the boundary is the skin of the forehead. On each side, it is attached to the superior temporal lines. Like the scalp, this aponeurotic layer is attached to the superior temporal lines on the sides. But below that line also, it will send an thin extension to the temporal fascia. So the border is still on each side. The aponeurotic layer is extending till sorry on each side. The aponeurotic layer is extending till the superior temporal line, but below that also it is giving a thin extension to the temporal fascia, and it is getting attached to the zygomatic arch, and it is getting attached to this is the thin extension, and it is getting attached to the zygomatic arch. So the boundaries are anteriorly to the skin of the forehead, posteriorly to the external occipital protuberance and nuchal lines, and on each side to the superior temporal line, but it is also sends down a thin extension over temporal fascia, and it is getting attached to the zygomatic arch. The next layer is loose connective tissue. This is the fourth layer. It separates the third layer and the fifth layer. That is, it separates aponeurotic layer from pericranium. You can see loose areolar tissue in the picture. It facilitates movement of scalp proper. While learning about aponeurotic layer, I told earlier that it is easily movable over the pericranium. What helps in the easy movement of aponeurotic layer? It is the loose connective tissue that helps in the easy movement. This layer is made up of loose areolar tissue. Now, it is the extension of loose areolar tissue or loose connective tissue. Anteriorly, it extends till the eyelids. In the picture, you can see that this is the aponeurotic layer. Aponeurotic layer is only extending till the forehead. Okay, but this loose areolar tissue is extending till the eyelid. Why? Because this frontalis muscle has no bony attachment. Since this muscle is not attached to this bone, to this frontal bone, this areolar tissue is extending to the eyelid. From the picture, you can easily understand that here is the aponeurotic layer. From there, it is the frontalis muscle arising. Since it is not attached to the bone, the next layer, loose areolar tissue, is extending till the eyelid. Posteriorly, it is till the superior nuchal lines, and on each side, it is till the superior temporal lines. Almost every boundaries is similar to that of scalp only. Next is the important point of this layer. That is, it gives passage to emissary veins. What are emissary veins? They are valveless veins that I have not mentioned here in the notes, but you have to note it down that emissary veins are valveless veins which connects extracranial veins to the intracranial venous sinuses. In the picture you can see here, these are emissary veins. It connects the extracranial veins to the intracranial venous sinuses. Here also you can see that this is the loose areolar tissue. These are the emissary veins which is connecting this to the intracranial venous sinuses. It is because of the presence of this emissary veins that loose areolar tissue is called as the dangerous area of scalp. Actually, it is one of the reasons. That is, these emissary veins will spread the infection into the intracranial venous sinuses, or it can spread the infection into the cranium. Another reason for the loose areolar tissue to be called as dangerous area is because of its consistency. Due to its loose consistency, infections can easily localize and spread through it. That's why loose areolar tissue or loose connective tissue is called as the dangerous area of scalp. Next is the last layer, the fifth layer, it is the pericranium. It is the deepest of all layers. It is the periosteum on outer surface of calvaria. It is the periosteum on outer surface of calvaria. It is loosely attached to the bones and is removable. Pericranium is very loosely attached, but in some areas, that is at the area of sutures, it is very firmly adherent and it cannot be removed at these areas. At the area of sutures, the pericranium is bound to endocranium using sutural ligaments. It is due to this binding that in these areas it is unable to remove the pericranium. By this we have finished with our definition, boundaries and the layers of scalp. I hope you have all understood. If you have any doubts, you can mention in the comment box. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.